Hello and welcome. I'm Light and this is my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about some true experiences with paranormal. Now, these are other people's experiences, and whether you believe in that type of thing or not, well, that's up to you. But these people 100% believe that they saw something, dealt with something that they could not explain. Before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please leave messages. If you want to, you can share it. It all really helps my channel to be seen. I am on a ghost ban sort of thing with YouTube right now. So it's very hard to get my videos recommended. So I need all the extra input that you guys can give. Alright, let's start talking about this, shall we? Derek Hayes, who is the host of Monsters Among Us, a podcast in which callers can anonymously share their personal experiences, has gathered some of the creepiest stories that he's heard. He says that some of these stories just stick with him. So these are the ones that he's talking about. He says every once in a while somebody will call in one of those personal stories. It's that really personal connection for me that brings it home. Some of these are just terrifying. Well, we'll be the judge of that, won't we? Jeff, who is a resident of Dayton, Ohio, was driving with his 3-year-old son Miles in the back seat when they passed a very modest cemetery decorated with only flowers and small plaques. It basically looks like a giant garden, Jeff explained. According to Jeff, as they drove by, his toddler, who had been happily singing in the back seat, stopped abruptly. He pointed to the cemetery and exclaimed, "Look at all those people." Jeff turned to look, but he didn't see a soul. Confused, he asked Miles what he was talking about. "All those people over there," his son replied. "There sure are a lot of grandmas." As Jeff tells it, chills ran down his spine as he asked his son what the people were doing. "They're all standing there, looking down at the grass." Completely unsettled by that conversation, Jeff sped up and drove home. But later on that same day, he says his young son was watching TV when he turned to Jeff and he said, "You know, they weren't alive." Thinking Miles was referring to the cartoon, Jeff asked what he meant. His son replied, "Those people we saw, they were all just paused." Jeff said, "I don't know if my kid has a sixth sense or if he just has a wild imagination." I'll input my own story here, if you do not mind. I had a very young child. He was less than 3. He started talking very early, at around 9 months. So he was in the back seat in his car seat, and we were driving towards this courthouse. On this road, there is, I've always described it as a strip mall, but it really isn't a strip mall. It's 2 offices, and then it turns into sort of an L, and there's room for a third office. Very small. It had an auto insurance company there. It had some sort of mail service delivery company there, and I believe a hair studio. So we were driving by, and he said, "No, people died there." And this was not something I even paid attention to, this little corner. And I said, "What?" And he said, "Oh, I'm saying that people died there." Of course, if he's not saying it like me, he's like, "People's died there," like that. And I said, "Where?" And we were at a stoplight. And he pointed and he said, "There." And I said, "Oh, did they?" And he said, "Yeah." So I went home, told my husband about it. I have never discouraged my children from expressing that they've seen things. Three of my children have seen things starting from the age of about 2 or 3. My oldest one started seeing things about from the age of 15 or 16. So I never discouraged it, and we just let them talk about it. So that's the end of that story, okay? Well, I get a traffic ticket. I know, hard to believe. So I have to go to traffic class, driving class. Basically, driving class was really just this guy who talked a little bit about driving, specifically never ever driving with a bottle between your legs. And that was gruesome. Never ever drive when you have to pee, ever, because your seatbelt goes over your tummy there, and it's not pretty and deadly. But other than that, he talked about being raised in this city. Now, at the time, this was a very small city, and it was famous for two things. One of the Jonas brothers had been born there, and David Spade had been raised there, the comedian. And so we were in this class talking about such things, and he began to tell about the first hospital in this little city. It's a very large city now, much larger than it was then. And when we moved there, sorry, I think it was probably 25,000 people. And he was talking about the smallest, this tiny hospital that had been there until they built this larger hospital, which is even much larger now. And he was telling us where the hospital was. And sure enough, that little office building thing had been the town's hospital for over 50 years. So, yes, people died there. Moving on. The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. As a side note, my oldest child went there on his honeymoon because he got the creepy gene from his mom and wanted to go somewhere where they could go on a ghost hunt on their honeymoon. He said he didn't really feel much, but he did have a couple of experiences. So it has been around for more than 100 years, and it was built as a posh place for very rich, wealthy people who could go into the mountains and be by themselves. As the years passed, however, the occupancy declined, and by the 1970s, the Grand Hotel had fallen into disrepair. And it was around that time that author Stephen King spent the night there, and he was inspired to write The Shining. The book and, of course, the blockbuster film helped return the Stanley to its former glory. Now guests come in droves to see the hotel that inspired one of the scariest horror movies of all time, which I viewed at 11 years old. Given its history, it should come as no strange surprise that many visitors report happenings. Aware of these ghostly rumors, a Texas resident named Henry Yaw booked a last-minute getaway in April of 2016 so he could check it out. After arriving, Yaw had dinner, then he wandered around the Stanley to take photos. Stopping at the staircase, he waited for people to clear the area, then he took a picture, thinking nothing of it. Later that night, however, Yaw fell seriously ill. He's quoted as saying, "I felt really sick. I had the shivers. I was like, something is really wrong." His companion suggested that they go to emergency room, but Yaw refused. On the trip home, Ya began swiping through the photos he'd taken when he discovered What he said was a really, really strange image of someone standing on the stairs, except the fact that no one had been there. The next day, he posted the photo on Instagram, half joking that he'd captured a ghost. And the world took notice. Almost overnight, Yaw found himself in the limelight, with his ghost picture warranting attention from global media outlets and paranormal experts who wanted to examine the photo. Some experts say that there are two ghosts. Others say that the reason I got so sick is because the ghost was trying to materialize, which took energy out of me. There are so many theories about this. So when Yah was asked about it, what he thinks, he said, I have no idea. The Whaley House, where I have also been. If there's no such thing as ghosts, then explain the supernatural incidents at San Diego's Whaley House, a destination dubbed America's Most Haunted House. I have definitely been present when people claim they hear things, smell things, and in some cases even see apparitions, said Victor Santana, who is the operations manager at the Whaley House and Museum. Widely known for its unexplained occurrences, the historical house was built in 1856 by Thomas Whaley, a former New Yorker who came west during the gold rush. It's quite possible Whaley got a sweet deal on the land, given that it was once home to the San Diego gallows, a place where countless criminals were executed. Though he doesn't know exactly how many people died at that site, Santana said one prisoner stands out. Yankee Jim Robinson was executed on site after he stole a boat. Legend says that Thomas Whaley was actually a witness to that execution. Whether or not that is true, Santana says that Whaley reported haunted happenings in his home in the years that followed, citing heavy footsteps going up and down the stairs while he worked in his office. He would also sometimes hear a man grunting, if you will, and he would attribute that to Yankee Jim Robinson. I took the tour of the Whaley House and the Whaley Museum, and the one place that I found to be very cold, very still, very thick in the air was the courtroom. After dying of natural causes, Whaley is said to have become a ghost himself at the house, with some visitors claiming to smell cigars, which he enjoyed smoking, or you might even see him at the top of the staircase looking down on you. Santana was also present during a paranormal investigation at the site in which an EVP, electronic voice recorder, used in investigations, picked up something utterly spine-chilling. He's quoted as saying, you set up a recorder and you ask questions like, is anybody in the room with us? What is your name? So one of the questions was, are you happy that we are here with you tonight? And when you play back the recording, you hear somebody say, no. And I'm going to tell you a story of my own right now. Several years ago, my son was probably, my oldest child was 11, and my youngest child, 2, that can't be right. He had to have been like 14, she was 5, and I had a 9-month-old baby. So my middle daughter was probably 4. Doesn't matter. We went to this town on the Arizona border on historic Route 66, and it's called Oatman, Arizona. Now, Oatman is located in the Black Mountains of Arizona and was a booming gold mine town in the early 1900s. At its peak, the town had a population of over 3,500 people. The town was founded in the 1860s after prospector Johnny Moss discovered gold in the area, and by 1909 and 1915, many miners struck it rich. Oatman boasts a rich history, including a significant gold rush era around the 1920s. The town produced an estimated 2.6 billion in gold in today's property. It's a ghost town now, but the kind where, you know, people play it up. So they have souvenirs, and you can go on tours of certain buildings, and have a very weird habit of letting people give donkeys beer. And once a year they have a donkey barbecue, which is not something you will ever find me at. Promise you that. So my son and I go into this building, and it's decorated like it had been, when it was alive, so to speak. We went from room to room, and we walked up the stairs. At the top of the stairs, there's a room. We walked into it, and at the same time, we felt and heard somebody breathing behind us. We weren't being quiet about it. It was almost as if someone was trying to scare us by walking up behind us and going and blowing on us. We turned around and saw a black figure. It was not solid. It was tall. It looked to have some type of hat on. Seemed to be wearing some type of boots. And it stood there. And we ran like the chickens we were, right through it, and down the stairs, and outside, where we found my husband, and we were shaking, both of us shaking. We could describe the exact same thing because we both saw it at the same time. I will never go back to Oatman, Arizona, if I can help it. But if you want to go and be scared pretty damn bad, I highly recommend it. Though Salem, Massachusetts is best known for its infamous witch trials, there have been plenty of other chilling stories throughout its 400-year history. One of them is the tale of Captain Joseph White, a wealthy merchant who was found bludgeoned to death in his bed. It was a crime motivated by money, according to Giovanni Albiso, owner and tour guide at Salem Historical Tours, who says that the 82-year-old merchant was allegedly targeted by greedy brothers hoping to get their hands on his will. Brothers Joseph and Francis Knapp enlisted the help of Richard Crowninshield to help get the job done. Late in the evening, when Captain White was asleep, Dick Crowninshield came in. He went up the stairs to the second floor. He took a club and he bashed the captain's head in over and over and over until the skull was mush. The murder resulted in a scandalous trial, and it is said to be the inspiration for Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, as well as the game Clue. Whether it was the brutal nature of the crime or revenge for the attempt to steal his money, the spirit of Captain Joseph White is said to still wander the halls. People believe that Captain White is roaming around the house, protecting whatever treasures he allegedly had, Albiso says. He said that tourists take photos of the home, and despite it being empty, many pictures reveal shadowy figures, both male and female, in the windows and on the landing of the Gardner Pingree house. Who are they? He was asked. No one knows, he says. And the last one for today, we will have more coming soon, is the haunted ventriloquist doll. When Marty was a child back in the 90s, She told Monsters Among Us that she was a fan of ventriloquist Edgar Bergen and his dummy sidekick Charlie McCarthy. I loathe ventriloquist dolls as much as I loathe seeing someone with their face covered by a mask. The fear it strikes in me is, well, it's actually kind of ridiculous, but I hate it. She said that when her father came across a ventriloquist doll as he wandered through a small magic shop located outside of Santa Rosa, California, he decided to buy it for her birthday. While ringing up the sale, Marty says that the cashier gave her father weird vibes and said to him, "You know, when you put your hand inside the doll, he's going to come alive." No, thank you. Laughing off the comment, he brought the dummy home to his daughter. According to Marty, she was over the moon when her dad gave her the doll, saying, "I was so happy when I got that doll. I was obsessed." But before long, strange things began happening. Though impossible because the doll's head was made of hard plastic, she says its expression would change, including his smile. Worried that something would happen to her precious dummy, Marty's family shut it away in a cupboard on most nights because they were worried that something might happen to the dummy. Like, what exactly? One night, she and her family were awakened by the pitter-patter of steps in their living room. Thinking it was a dog or another family member, they went to look. No one was there except for the doll, who was sitting on the couch. We remember specifically that we always put it away because I loved that doll so much that I took care of it, Marty said. Other strange occurrences began happening. While Marty and her dad were away, her uncle was alone in the house. The uncle says he heard Marty's father calling his name from the living room, even though he wasn't home. When he went to look, he found the doll once again sitting on the couch and no one else. All of our family was pretty much scared of the doll, Marty says. People would start hearing their names being called, and we would hear walking at night, so we just decided we needed to get rid of it. Being Mexican and religious, Marty says her parents wanted to burn the doll in case it was demonic. They put it on the grill, and according to Marty, it wouldn't burn. This doll would not go up in flames at all, whatsoever. They tried cutting it up with a knife, but were unsuccessful. Finally, they just threw it in the trash can. After the garbage was collected, Marty's dad went to retrieve the bin. In it, the doll. To rid themselves of the dummy, they dug a hole in the backyard and then filled it with cement. Marty and family have long since moved away, but she says she still thinks about that doll and the possibility that eventually it will find one of us. Thank you for coming to my channel, and good night.